All right, guys, let's go ahead and get started. There might be a few more people coming in. One, like I said earlier, please, I want you guys to contribute to this. There's not a lot of slides. We want to really have this be about storytelling. We're lucky to have Narayan here from Delek. Myself, I run the South Enterprise Architecture team. We've got a couple of my team members here. I think you guys will really like the story that Narayan's got to share, and would love to hear how that applies to each of you in the room. Quick introduction, Narayan.
Thanks, Frank, and good afternoon, everyone. And back to the reality, right? After looking at all the decks and all the principles and a lot of the information in the last 2 days. Well, my name is Narayan Bhusal. I'm a director at Delek. I'm responsible for all SAP and a part of the corporate shared services, plant maintenance, and FP&A finance, supply chain, and a couple of other business functions. I'll be going over our transformation journey more from the business perspective. But after the session, if you guys would like to talk about a little bit about the technical stuff, please feel free to stop by me. I'm passionate about technology, try to stay very close up to date. Can go to the next one.
Awesome.
Okay.
So the one thing we would like to do is just give everybody here in this, sort of a chance in the audience. I believe there was a large group focused on Clean Core earlier today. There's been several sessions. If you guys could just take a picture of that QR code or just go to Menti and enter those codes. We can do that. And the code at the top, if you go to Menti, you can put those 8 digits in. We would just like to hear from each of you where you believe SAP includes these elements in a Clean Core message. Welcome, everyone. For those of you just joining, if you won't, please, there's still time, join. You can enter the Menti code at the top at menti.com or just quickly grab the QR code. This is awesome.
Nice.
It's kind of exciting to see the way this is playing out.
Yeah. And what I hope is over the last couple of days and for what's remaining this week is we've seen a lot of this is resonating with the people in this room, right? But as we go through this and hear the story of Delek's journey individually, how did they actually achieve these outcomes is part of what we want to walk through here later today. So Steve, if you want to take a moment.
Yep.
Now let's kind of boil this down a little bit.
Not yet. So Steve Rushell, enterprise architect with SAP, but prior to that, I spent 18 years on the customer side. And most of my role, similar to Narayan's, was leading technology change, bringing forward multiple technology platforms, whether it's data platforms or consumer experience platforms, much of it integrating with and around the SAP ecosystem. What kind of excites me about what I'm seeing here is, as I would lead technology change throughout our organization, which happened quite frequently because we never stopped changing anything. We focused mostly on the software stack, data, maybe extensibility, and we didn't pay any attention to processes or how do things change after we're done with a project. And what excites me is to see that some of that is you're hearing those messages from SAP, really getting into and understanding what's important about processes, how do my operations need to change, because it's not just about the software. And Narayan's going to hit on that today. And that's the essence of the story that SAP is trying to talk about when they talk about Clean Core. Next slide. Eventually. So you probably have seen this slide. If you haven't, it's out there, published. It is across the 6 different operations or the 6 different pieces of a Clean Core. All of them are equally important as you think about it. So it's not just about you as an IT person. It's about you and your relationship with your businesses. It's about how you drive change throughout the entire organization. So think about it across those 6 dimensions: software stack, data. When we talk about data, it's not just cleaning your data one time. It's how do I keep it clean moving forward, right? How do I get master data governance in place to make it make sense? Extensibility, integrations. had customers. My own organization was an integration nightmare. I mean, Jason, I think we had thousands of integrations that ran around the entire organization. Many of them were dead integrations and nobody knew what they did. Jobs were saved. Processes and operations. So I'm going to hand it to Narayan, let him tell his story. As Frank said, let's make this interactive. We'd love to hear from you as we go through this. So, all yours, Narayan.
Thanks, Stephen. So just a little bit background on Delek. So we're a downstream energy company, primarily in refining and logistics. So refining segments deals with, basically getting those hydrocarbon product and refining it and finishing it through the hydrocarbon. And kind of US is our primary market and a little bit about Mexico. And we also have a logistics operation, which is around transportation, storage, terminal, railways, trucks, bars, and all of that. This was founded in 2001, and we grew inorganic, meaning we did a lot of acquisition and merger. Go to next. There's a reason why I said that, because this kind of building the story around what led to the decision around clean core and S4. So typical oil and gas challenges. I know a couple of you are here from oil and gas. There's a lot of operational bottleneck. Why is that, right? It's one of the oldest industries. Probably some of these companies are running on mainframes, if not in 4.7 or ECCs, right? And a lot of energy companies, they grew by acquisition. And when you look at the enterprise structure, there is more than hundreds of legal entities. That means you're going to have a lot of customization. So in Delek, prior to S4, in our 2-3 ERPs, we had around 6,000 customizations. Just a background. So lack of agility. Delek, there's a lot of M&A. This business is changing, evolving energy market. So really, our ERP was not providing us the agility that we needed to cope up with the market changes. Obviously, when you have that many acquisition, the ERP that was never integrated, the enterprise structure and your processes never integrated, you're going to end up with a lot of ERPs, non-ERPs, spreadsheets, and a lot of other things. And because of that technical debt, obviously, not going to be able to innovate. And particularly, Delek has a small company that's focused on, startup. We invest about $30-40 million on the startup, and we're not able to do innovation because we didn't have that architecture supporting us. And all of that, guess what? When SAP started, their first sales pitch of S4 was to CFO. So this is our key, right? When everybody reaches who's going to be the first customer, it's going to be the CFO. So when you have 16 days of closing, if you can get that down to few days, that itself is a huge win. So I'm going to build that story onto it, where we are today. We're going to talk about it a little bit. Go to the next one.
I got a question before we go to the next slide.
Sure.
Show of hands. Does this ring true with any of you in the audience today? Come on, put your hands up. And if
the top right one, right? The amount of spreadsheets.
Well, yeah, Excel runs the world.
We had more than 1,000. That's us.
So I think it's important, whether it says oil and gas or A&D or pharmaceuticals, these are themes I hear coming out of almost every customer I work with. Supporting the South, we work across all industries, so it's not like I just work with one. So I've heard these out of retail, I've heard them out of oil and gas, I've heard them out of automotive, I've heard them out of agriculture. So this is not unique to one industry. We see these repeated consistently.
Next one. Okay, so what's the business value driver? Back in 2020, 2021, we were running 2 ERPs plus SAP, 3 ERPs. And we looked at multiple ERPs. We actually brought in a consulting firm to do the benchmarking of the ERPs. We looked at Microsoft, we looked at Oracle, we looked at, even though we had S4, ECC, we looked at, what was our going forward. In order for us to make that decision, we wanted to understand what's our future, what's our need, what's our challenges, right? So the number one the business driver for us was the safe and reliable operation. It's not the closing. It's not the supply chain, because for oil and gas industry, if you're not safe and reliable, your business is no more tomorrow. If there is an operator making a mistake in a refinery, you don't have a very consistent work processes, you're shut tomorrow. And we know a lot of, by history, what happened at not Valera, it's Chevron or a company a few years back, right? So that's the number one business need. Second is the cost saving. Multiple ERPs, many closing cycles, many Excels. A lot of these business-owned application. A lot of our businesses had their own applications to run their Excels because nothing was integrated. We needed to be innovation ready. That means we still had that company which was focusing on these startups, but there was not a way for us to integrate very seamlessly. So we wanted to be innovation ready. And the agility, we acquired in just last couple of years around 4 companies, but without S4, we would not be in a place to integrate so quickly and with agility. But this is what was driving our decision for that S4. And obviously the operational insight, from the operation, from supply chain, from HR, from the field, operation technology, we needed a very robust solution to drive our insight to make the decisions. So these are the driver, and we looked at it, and the leadership and us decided to go with, thankfully, S4, and I get to keep my job. All right, so this is our journey. We were the first North American RISE customer, so we got a pretty good help from SAP throughout this journey. But we implemented S4 HANA private cloud on HEC. We're on a HEC cloud 2022. Then we brought in BW for HANA for some of the analytics and insight. Then we enable using data model there, standard content here, out of the box, the CDS views and contents enable some of the analytics in December 2023. Then we added the SAP Asset Manager for the field workers and the inventory manager at the warehouses. And last year, we did SAC planning. That's for our FP&A. And a part of our HR team for their workforce, more from the OpEx perspective, not really the headcount and workforce planning, but this is more OpEx based. And this year, we brought DataSphere and Databricks. If you see in this chart, we already had BW, but we were staying very touch with architects like Steve and all the other folks that we were getting support. This was not the capability or solution that was giving us the edge to the future. So I had a conversation with CTO. I walked into him and said, now we needed to do the data collaboration. But what's the best way to do was DataSphere? But there was a lot of challenge to sell this internally for me because we already had BW, right? But then a few days back, there was a collaboration announced, and CTO walks into my room and says, thank you. Right? That was the story. I'm going to share more, but we can go to the next one. Any question on this so far?
Are you using BW and DataSphere?
No. So right now we're in active migration phase from here to, we're almost done here with the BW. So we're working on moving that everything here. And as a RISE customer, we have that special, as a first RISE customer, a clause to do a swap, annual swap. So we're going to give that back and do more investment in this one.
So the whole journey was over 3 years, and the technology changed like years over that 3 years. Even within SAP, that SAC cloud is day and night between, like you saw 2022 versus now. So how did you handle that technology change as a moving target?
So basically, our core is still running here. So that's our foundation. So the foundation kind of remained the same. Then we had a roadmap. We kind of worked with our internal IT partners in the business to show them how we're going to walk this 3-year roadmap. So for the foundation, Then we're going to enable the capabilities. Then the innovation and AI stuff, right? So we were able to kind of walk that journey because we were very proactive in walking that journey and making it more transparent throughout the company. So this was part of our strategy and roadmap, but it's just that we had to change that a little bit in the technology. Sorry.
Foundation, a greenfield, a brownfield. How
Uh,
do you do the code if you different?
Yeah, I'm gonna come there, but we were greenfield because we had a couple of ECC and we had Infor for some of the operation and financials. So we decided because of the process gaps we had, data silos, the process gaps in different business units, because 4 refineries were running 3 different ARPs, their own operations. So it was a early architectural decision to do a clean core on a greenfield. Yes, we did good.
And how are you in your new mergers and acquisitions? If a new acquisition has already an ERP, probably you had it from 2022 to till date. How are you accommodating it with the new S4?
So basically, our going in approach is fit to standard. So we've achieved about, I'll share that later. We are about 95 to 96% standards. So our going in assumption, there is an alignment with our CFO and controller and head of FP&A. Normally, when we acquire the companies, they are smaller than us. That kind of works for us because we're already probably on a latest and greatest. So they basically inherit our processes, and where are their gaps, this is where we adapt to a new ways of working. But otherwise, it's pretty much fit to standard.
It's more like adding an additional branch.
Right. And first thing that we do is a finance integration. That's the first thing you need to do as a public company. So we have group reporting within S4. Prior to this, when you acquire a company, we had BPC, then we had ECC. You would have to have probably 2 projects running in parallel. First goes BPC, then you bring it here, then again retrofit here. They were not talking to each other. But now, without S4 being ready, we could already integrate that consolidation and planning into group reporting. Then we can retrofit. Thank you. That's a great question. Go to the next one. All right. So Frank talked about, and Steve talked about clean core, right? So for us, and we were actually talking about prepping this, and they were asking me, what does really clean core mean to you? I hadn't even looked at SAP slides, and I said, these are the things. It's an enterprise mindset. It's not really just about the stack that we're talking about, the software stack. Yes, it is true. That's what the foundation. But as an enterprise mindset, it's about how we drive from your processes and operations to how we collaborate the data, to how do you run your planning, to how you run some of your AI and data initiatives, to how you actually navigate the whole org cross-functionally, right? So I kind of created this as a 5, I would say even probably there is one more foundation. Everything starts with the process and operations, because if we're not going to have an alignment with our steerco at the E-levels about adopting the industry best practices, doing the benchmarking, and making sure we're not deviating from where some of our biggest partners are heading, right? If we're not aligning on this, they all go to garbage. Because then we would be just doing clean here just for the sake of doing clean. As an example, if I want to run OTC process from sales order to delivery to billing to how I interact with the customer, if we're not going to keep that standard, then we end up customizing a lot of these, or probably buying another non-SAP solution and end up creating an integration which requires a lot of, there may be standard way of extending it, but still that process is not very highly standard, because now we're going to operate in for the same process in different environments. So that's very important to align on the process and operations. And obviously, once we do that, we are 96% standard. Now that 4%, we had about, I believe, 7 or 8 major write shapes and few other enhancements. Now we're talking about really using that's what SAP provides, the custom fields and all the Fiori apps, the standard way of extending. So we're not side by side yet. That's the plan in our next upgrade. But we're leveraging basically all the wraps, CDS, in-app extension that private cloud that RISE provides, right? And for data collaboration and data sharing, we had an option to use BW, but to kind of distribute the data to our Azure, because that's what we use more for the data lake type activities. So we brought in DataSphere. It has a capability called Premium Outbound, so you can do the CDC based. There's a lot of out-of-the-box CDS views, which says control enable. So we leverage that to share Parquet file to Databricks, and they can ingest that data and do all the processing. We talked about planning. S4 has the planning capability. It has Fiori apps, but it's very bare metal, right? It doesn't have your collaboration, a lot of version control, a lot of forecasting capabilities. We needed that. So there was a couple of discussion about whether SAC versus some other tool. If we were to bring another tool, then we would have to feed all the finance data, have to feed all the HR data, have to fill all the probably the actuals and a little bit of a forecasting. But now with SAC, it has out-of-the-box connections to S4, to our success factor. So whatever data we need for the actual perspective is there. And when I'm done with the budget pass cycle, push it back to S4. Forecast, you can push it back to group reporting, so you can have that consolidation view. So that process to us is very clean, because it's without any development effort, the end-to-end is already there. So some of the innovation and automation stuff, we started to leverage BTP mobility there, but we want to look at some of the more later in the year when we do the swap. We're going to bring in some more AI stuff, Joel, SAP Business AI, but right now we use BTP mostly for two things. One is mobility and the integration. So prior to S4 and RISE, we had a couple of integration tools. Now we aggregated into integration suite. And for analytics and insight, as I just said, it's DataSphere, Databricks. For line of business reporting, we use SAC. But for executive dashboard, because we need a lot of, the refinery throughput, the transportation, there's a lot of data that's being generated at the field, at the refineries, and at the logistic business units. We needed to aggregate that data and kind of create some of the dashboarding and insight. So Databricks is kind of that collaboration tool. Now SAP announces BDC. We'll have to figure that out, whether this fits. So it looks like SAP heard us, but it's just but this is good stuff. Any question on here? Or any comments? How you guys are leveraging?
Right here. Just one question. I'm just trying back to those 6 dimensions that you presented, right?
Yeah.
I think one thing that is missing here is the operations.
Yeah, that's what it's here. I had edited this slide, but then I think that's 95%, 96%.
That's real customer view. That's not
I just wanted to see how are you managing those release management and upgrades and stuff like that.
So we did once support pack upgrade once. We didn't have any issues because we were doing most of this. There was like just custom code. As part of that upgrade, you have an option in SAP that allows you to retrofit. We did that, but we did not have, honestly, we had our SAP partner HIC basis team supporting do that. We had few back and forth, but there was not so many issues at the stack level.
Maybe if you have a customer, you can go ahead from SAP. So I'll just take a back seat after those questions are done.
I have one question. Yeah, go ahead.
So how many days is it closed now? You started with
Yeah, I'm going to come back to there.
Next slide, please.
There's a slide.
We have a question.
Regarding the extensibility, how are you enforcing like a clean code? Because if you have like a set of developers, because private cloud is pretty open,
It's open. You're right.
right? So, like, are you, like, how are you putting these checks in? Like, on the release of a transport, you're enforcing ATC checks or something like that which is cloud compliant or anything like that? Like, how are you doing?
Now we look at it. We have a dev manager, and us. We kind of every enhancement that comes our way, we have a review process.
Manual review?
Yes, it's a manual review. I'd have to be honest with you. I'd say it's not 100% clean. We are very, very close to 100. There is a couple of objects we had to go out of it, but in our next upgrade, we're going to bring it back to 100% clean core. But yes,
Still it is like quite cumbersome actually, right?
yes, it is.
You have introduced like another, like a human layer on top of it.
For now, but I think we're going to look at some opportunity. Again, we don't do a lot of development with that kind of 95, 96% standard. And you see all the data products coming out of here. A lot of customization that we had seen is whatever data is going to SAP, as an example, we have a trading application called Right Angle. That's where a lot of inventory and sales order are getting generated, right? The business is going to ask you, okay, send all the fields to S4 because I want to be able to run the report. But that's not an answer because, okay, we need the data, but be able to link that data from Right Angle to S4. But then you bring this back to here and do some of your reporting and insight. So
And how big is your team?
we have about 20 people.
The development team?
Development is about 7, 8 offshore on site. About 1,000.
Question over there.
So going back to this idea that was presented this morning about tier 1, tier 2, and tier 3, it looks like this row 5 here is all in tier 3, meaning you've made those adjustments within S4 itself using PADI or whatever.
Yes.
Plan to get to that tier 1, tier 2
Yes.
that they were talking about?
I'll answer you in the next slide as well. But yes, that's our goal, to go to tier 1 eventually. But SAP is also evolving with us, right? The tiering probably came, I don't know how long it dates back, but it all started, their clean core started with this, right? We're kind of following it, but now we'll have to follow that tier to get to where we need it to be. So.
Just one question I have on that. Like for business process transformation, what tool are you using right now to map it to the reference architecture? Because you said that it's 96% standard, right? 4% custom. So to get those stats, do you have a specific tool that compares with the reference standard architecture and say that for your sales order process, your procure to pay process, okay, this much is standard and these are the enhancements and then these are the license for it?
Yes, we looked at it. So our implementation partner, fortunately, was SAP Services. So they came with the best of the tools when we did in 2022. That's where we're still kind of leveraging those benchmarking. I don't think we've deviated that much, but we've been leveraging that reference benchmarking from that. We are not as of now.
I think that can help in that scenario where you can tie down wherever you are deviating from the standard, right? If you are going to the testing phase, the scenario will tell you that okay, this is deviating, this bicep is deviating from the standard, or how much is deviating from the standard.
Yeah.
So that can help you.
That's a great point, yeah. We're looking at some of the option in our next upgrade and next renewal to see where we could engage our partners like Steve, and see how we can map all those. So some of the opportunities there.
So you started out on one of your earlier slides with, I think you had over 6,000 customizations. So how many of those did you migrate or get rid of, and where do you sit now with the number of customizations?
I think we have about somewhere 30, 35 customization. We didn't have that much because a lot of our customizations was around reporting. A lot of people needed reports, write a BAP code. Nobody looked at if there was another report that really did the same thing because people change, and a lot of those were there. But also because we inherited, there was a lot of unused code, right? Inherited the old ECC systems from other companies when we acquired them. So we had to kind of start from scratch. Especially, I'll give you one of the biggest one, right? The purchase order and requisition workflows. Those two ERPs had their own workflows, because our HR was not integrated with SuccessFactors for employee mini-master. So that means custom table, custom hierarchy, custom workflow. With this, SuccessFactors directly ingest our org hierarchy, so we use flexible workflow. That means standard. That itself probably killed a lot of, probably 100 customers. Few tables.
There's another question right here. Quick question. So on your, you said you use right angle for your trading.
Yeah.
Have you always had trading outside of SAP?
Yes, we did.
Did you consider bringing that in?
We have not for various reasons. There are some business reasons because we're doing a major right angle transformation. We have a new leader in commercial. He has his own vision of where Delek wants to be in the future. And I think we wanted to keep that separate because we're doing a lot of work there. Multi-year initiatives.
So on BTP for the mobility piece, the only thing what we have done is the enablement of the standard mobile app, correct? Using the SAP mobile services because you need mobile services.
That's right. That's right.
Apart from that, you haven't done anything else.
So they,
Any
so
custom applications on?
not custom application, but we use BTP to enhance the SAP Asset Manager a bit to move a field here, a field there, and like kind of optimize some of. That's kind of a little bit of work there. Yeah.
Then you have integration suite.
Yes.
So are you using all the capabilities of integration suite?
So we're using pretty much APIs, API management, all the file-based.
Integration assessment.
Yeah, and
Advisor and all that. EDI, do you do EDI?
we do EDI a little bit. Basically, the way is either you do point-to-point API, S4 to target application, which is here. We actually innovated a solution where a drone flies to see some of our assets, to see if there is any emissions or any leakage. And when it finds something, it creates a notification in our S4 system through the integration suite calls a standard API. But we have other like the Mobidio, which is another startup that Delek has. They have a heavy investment in turnaround management. So in that, we had to use on SAP side the standard APIs to extract some of the work order data, send it to them for planning purpose. So there are various ways. There is IDOCs, there is API, there is SFTPs, there is EDI and all this. IoT, I would say that's a drone, but nothing more than. Yeah. That would be great. So one of our challenge right now is the tank measurement. People dip the stick. If we had IoT device that sends the data back to here to measure the inventory, how cool would that be, right? Exactly. Yeah. Hopefully we'll get there someday.
And Narayan, your top point, right?
Yeah, so our financial close is right now sits at 10 days. And we just did also announce as part of our enterprise optimization plan to do managed services with Infosys. And we're able to do that with this short span of time because we have so much standard work processes, right? With Infosys and a little bit of investment in Blackline, and we have some pain points in CAS application. Hopefully, the CAS app AI will be able to help there. Our goal is to get to 6 days, and it's a very hefty goal, but right now we're at 10 days from 16 to 10. That's directly attributable to this transformation. One of the other ones is the work process, where before S4, before mobility, a lot of our maintenance tech and maintenance supervisor at the field, they're walking around with the paper, Excel, laptop, huge security risk. Right now, they just download the work, go to the field, complete their work, get the signature in the iPad. We rolled out to one site. For the mobility, we're working on rolling out to other sites, but all of the preventive and reactive work happens in one system. Before this, it was in 3 systems and some Excel, right? So everything is back to S4. Everything is standard. We haven't customized that much. So goal is to go to predictive, but right now the compliance to the preventive, because we don't want to be reactive. So reactive is it's very hard to plan your days as a maintenance manager at the field. If you know what's going to happen, put it in a maintenance plan. So these are the numbers we want to improve to 90%, 95, so that you can go more on predictive.
Narayan, can you talk a bit about the 100% self-service data access and how that's maybe enhanced your relationships with your business partners?
Yeah, so this is especially for finance and supply chain. We're working on plant maintenance to make this, but right now 100% for finance and supply chain. They do a couple of ways. One, in SAC, I don't know how many of you are familiar, but the journal data analyzer, there is a huge data model that SAP provides out of the box. This is a model that it's not just has a actual data, but it connects to the context. If you have a cost center, now you can bring in the cost center hierarchy, its description, all the details, master data behind it. If you have GL account, you can do the same thing. So when you are in SAC, the users just need to know now, okay, we created a model. So they access that model to create their own reporting. So we had a training. We have some SMEs in different areas. So they're able to now create their own report without our help. So it's self-service. Now, part of that executive dashboarding I talked about, we're actually sharing that finance data over to our Databricks, which is now is being visualized on Power BI. So in there also, we share the data. We had to build that context, but we did because our executives, for some reason, wanted to have that aggregate. Obviously, you would. If I were executive, I wanted to see all the data in one place. So the Power BI is the place. So now, with the help from those SMEs in that area, they are able to access that data without our help. So we're not creating any of finance report as of now. Same thing is the supply chain. Same approach.
Question back here.
Yeah, actually, I have two questions. One, how did you use the BTP for the custom code remediation or other tools?
We have not. We have not.
So just analyze what we have?
Yeah, so whatever we had as part of that assessment phase, we've kind of identified what we needed to redo it and then left behind. And we still have those ECCs for historical purpose, but we didn't bring in it.
And the second question, like you mentioned that you were first rise customer, right? So usually the customers are struggling, to understand what is their business value, yeah, and communicate it to their C-level, yeah. So is the rise help you somehow to do this job?
Yes, we did. Remember I said about evaluating. One, we needed to upgrade. That was the mandate coming from SAP for all SAP customer. But second, we had a real business need. You saw those numbers, right? The closing days, the people, the shared service finance team, the floor full of people, right? Because when you have that disintegrated, siloed processes, you end up hiring more people, right? So the business case was kind of self-building, but we just had to kind of create the story around it, and it was easy to sell. But SAP was a big part of it.
And if I add one thing on top of that, just to kind of challenge all of us in the room, I've been a customer as well as at SAP. The amount of time it takes us to do upgrades and changes is exactly what RISE is focusing on, is to help you get that innovation quicker and faster, because you've got the foundation underneath yourself and your company to do it. But I think it applies to how every one of your situations, from a size of a company to Delek to some of the largest companies in the world, are leaning on SAP to help make that happen.
And it sounds like you had executive sponsorship that was willing to listen and work with you.
That's if you ask me, a success to a program like this, it's not SAP. It's actually the people. It's actually the support from the top. And our CFO, I hope it's not live, he was very autocratic on this one. This had to happen. And big kudos to him, because every time we hit the roadblock, his message was, you guys figure it out. This is where we need to go. We were very privileged to have that kind of executive sponsorship. Because in his mind, he knew where we were going. He had that clarity of the future, right?
That's great.
So some of the lesson learned, I know a lot of you guys have touched on few of these great points, takeaways for me as well. But starting a transformation, why is a big part of a success. In our case, our EBPs, our steerco had a very strong buy-in, and when we just present a business case as okay, 2027 is SAP deadline, that will go to their executive desk many times, it will return. But if we can work together on formulating that why, I think it has a better chance of really driving that business outcome, and then obviously the buy-in, right? Change management is a big piece, because since the beginning of our S4 transformation, we established a change management org. We actually hired a full-time FT, director of change management. He was the change agent leading, establishing all of those change champions throughout the company, talking about them, engaging them around throughout the whole requirement design, your UAT training. And after we went to production, the hypercare, that was a big part of our journey as well. I talked about the executive buy-in. Planning, obviously, I don't think I have to spend much time there. But this is where I'll focus. When you're implementing the transformation like we did, support from our partners. We did have a really great support from SAP, from some of the other partners. We did the premium engagement. We leveraged every bit of it for the last couple of years. How did we use it, right? So a lot of our developers, the new ways of coding, RAP-based coding, CDS views, because we had to upskill, because we are on-site and offshore. Not everybody has the same level of understanding. And how do you bring everybody to the same page is through premium engagement. We brought our partners to our company, and we had a week-long workshops, and we did multiple of these. Now we kind of talk that language. So, and even today, I'm one of the ones probably at SAP very constantly reaching out to our account executives, our support, our EAs, and wherever I can get help. So I'll not be shy, and that's a big part of what we do and how we keep up with what's coming next. And I'll be bugging you guys more.
Again, we're at time. We can go longer for any of those that want to stay longer, but Narayan, thank you. A couple of things, right? You've got a journey ahead of you. There's several things you're focusing on. I know you've got your contact information out there. Please reach out to Narayan for further insights into where they're going from here. Two things I wanted to give back to the audience is, one, we produce a lot of white papers, a lot of thought leadership that I think customers consume at different paces. I've got 2 QR codes that you'll have in the presentation when we present them, but also they're freely available to anyone that has a user ID with SAP. And then to just kind of close it out, I just wanted to say, for anyone who had that Menti open, you don't have to answer it today. Answer it, it'll be open for the next 24 hours, or answer it here in the room. Where would you put yourself in that clean core journey, and where would you see your individual challenge as you move forward, trying to get more standard, or trying to drive to more standard processes, or address some of the other aspects of what SAP is looking at to help our customers get lean, mean, and really drive with a cloud mindset. So you're welcome to open the QR code, answer those last questions. We'd love to get your insights.
Thank you for the great interaction.
Awesome. Thank you all. Thank you all for coming.
Great job.
So you also use Davis for